I caught the CEO's wife and her young lover in bed. She said it was an excuse. After I fake my death, I'll watch her self-destruct. The first time the CEO's wife was drugged, I rushed over, only to run into the college student, who was just pulling up his pants before I could speak. The woman immediately knelt before me, pleading bitterly, "Ethan Vance, I was wrong, I am so sorry, but the drug's effects were too strong, I couldn't help myself, that's why, I promise this is the only time, it will never happen again, please, don't divorce me." 10 years of love. And I fell for it. 2 months later, my wife was drugged again. This time I was right next door. As soon as I walked over, I heard her companion teasing, "Serafina, you take aphrodisiac every time you have sex, aren't you afraid of sudden death one day?" The woman's voice was hoarse, filled with lust. "No, I am willing to die beneath him." After speaking, she immediately pressed herself onto the college student beside her, and I felt as if struck by lightning, subconsciously clutching the medical report in my bag. It turned out this so-called drug effect was just a lie to cover her affair, so I decisively pulled out my phone and cancelled the IVF procedure. The next second, the phone rang. The person on the other end seemed quite drunk, with a slightly playful tone. "Will you divorce her, Ethan?" "Yes." The other person froze, taking a long time to say, "Are you serious? You're not kidding, are you?" Listening to the moans coming from the private room, I nodded. "I am." After hanging up, I drove back to the oceanfront estate Serafina Vance had specially built for me, and couldn't help but recall our past. 10 years of dating, 7 years of marriage. I accompanied Serafina Vance from obscurity to immense prominence. Countless nights, she would pant softly in my ear, clutching my hand tightly. "Ethan Vance, I promise to never betray you for the rest of my life." I believed her. I thought we would be different from others, but I didn't expect to still fall victim to the 7-year itch. A sudden pain seized my heart, and tears welled up in my eyes, then streamed down my face. "Serafina Vance, you ultimately betrayed me." After a long while, I got up and went to the study. Printing out a divorce agreement, I wrote my name, stroke by stroke. As soon as I finished, Serafina Vance's call came. "Ethan Vance, hurry and drive to St. Jude's Medical Center. Finn, he suddenly started bleeding a lot down there." Serafina Vance had always been calm and composed in 7 years of marriage. Even when I pushed himself to the brink of collapse to help her, I had never seen her lose control like this, out of a doctor's instinct. I quickly went to the hospital. When I arrived at the emergency room, I saw Serafina Vance hugging the college student beside her, continuously comforting him. "It's okay, don't be scared, I won't let anything happen to you." Seeing me, she quickly shrieked, "Ethan Vance, hurry and save him. I beg you to save him." I suppressed the bitterness in my heart, pulled over a gurney, and motioned for her to help him onto it. On the way to the operating room, Finn Hayes leaned in Serafina Vance's arms, looking shaky. "Serafina, will I die? I am only 22, I haven't even gotten married," he whimpered. Serafina Vance's face was full of tenderness. "Nonsense, of course not. We still have a long way to go in the future." The college student was still persistent. Then can you say you love me?" "I am afraid I won't be able to hold on." Serafina Vance hesitated for a few seconds. Before I could turn around, I heard her charming voice. "Finn, I love you. I've loved you for a long time. If it weren't for that damned marriage certificate, I'd marry you right away." At that moment, with a boom, my heart felt torn to shreds. Every breath accompanied by immense pain. Serafina Vance's vows only ended at the operating room door. During the examination, because of local anesthesia, Finn Hayes remained conscious. His expression, from the moment he was wheeled in, changed from pitiful to extremely provocative. "Ethan, do you know why I was bleeding?" "It's because Serafina was too tight. It happened when I pinned her against the sink." I ignored him. Finn Hayes remained persistent, continuing to talk a lot about his and Serafina Vance's bedroom activities. I pretended to be calm and completed the surgery, then went out to wash my face. As soon as I opened the door, Serafina Vance rushed over like a madwoman. "Ethan Vance, how is he? Is he all right?" I was expressionless. "Excessive congestion due to strenuous activity. He can be discharged after 1 night of observation if he's fine." After I spoke, Serafina Vance fainted. I took her to the clinic and found out she was pregnant, just over 2 months. Serafina Vance was also stunned, a smile she couldn't suppress on her lips. After a while, she noticed me. and knelt before me with a thud. Ethan Vance, I took his virginity, and now I am pregnant again. Please, please let me have this child. Let me be responsible for him, this one time. I promise we'll be like before, and since you have male infertility, I'll bring the child back for you to raise after he's born. My eyes instantly welled up. I lowered my gaze, not wanting her to notice. Okay, Serafina Vance, I'll fulfill your wish. Let you take full responsibility. The next morning, I was woken by the sound of large bags and packages downstairs. As soon as I went downstairs, I saw Serafina Vance entering with Finn Hayes, carrying all the latest luxury items of the season. Seeing me, a flicker of panic crossed her eyes, and she quickly explained, Ethan Vance, there are too many people at the hospital, which isn't good for his recovery. I thought seeing the ocean view might make him feel better, so I brought him back. Can he stay with us for now? I'll have him move out after the baby is born. Before I could speak, Finn Hayes walked towards me with a sincere expression. Ethan, thanks to you yesterday, otherwise Serafina and my child might not have made it. After speaking, he took a step closer and whispered in my ear, in a voice only we two could hear, Ethan, I truly feel sorry for you. First, I got your wife pregnant, and then she brought me back to your home. Tell me, is the next step to replace you and become Mr. Vance? His face was full of provocation, and I smiled indifferently. All right, I am giving you the Mr. Vance position. Finn Hayes, however, grabbed my arm, his eyes red. Ethan, you misunderstood me. I am not trying to steal your position, nor am I trying to possess Serafina. After speaking, he, with his bandaged leg, knelt before me with a thud. Ethan, I was wrong. I shouldn't have volunteered to be Ms. Vance's remedy, and I shouldn't have gotten her pregnant. But I really don't want to ruin your marriage with Serafina. I just really want to have this child. Don't worry, I'll leave far away after the child is born, and I definitely won't bother you anymore. Finn Hayes' eyes instantly filled with tears, as if he had suffered some immense grievance. Serafina Vance pulled him into her arms from behind, then looked at me with a coldness I had never seen before. Ethan Vance, what do you mean? Didn't you promise me you'd let me have this child? If you have any complaints, take them out on me. Why bother a college student? Finn Hayes' face was pale, and he curled up in Serafina Vance's arms, weakly saying, No, it's not Ethan's fault, it's me. I am sorry to him. Well, go to the hospital now and abort this child. We promise not to bother you anymore. Saying that, he got up to leave, but Serafina Vance frantically held him in her arms. No, Finn, you're not wrong. Then she coldly looked at me. Ethan Vance, apologize. I scoffed. Why should I? Serafina Vance's eyes were bloodshot, because you made things difficult for him. Finn Hayes, seeing this, grabbed my hand. Ethan, don't be angry with Ms. Vance. She's just talking nonsense because she's anxious. How can I let you apologize to me, right? It's all my fault. I sharply shook him off. Are you done acting? The words had just fallen when Serafina Vance furiously pushed me from behind. My lower body immediately hit the corner of the coffee table, making me break out in a cold sweat from the pain. Ethan Vance, you really don't know how to repent. How dare you lay hands on him right in front of me? I'll say it again, apologize to him. I met Serafina Vance's gaze head-on, saying word by word, impossible. I will never apologize to him. Serafina Vance's gaze instantly darkened. She grabbed my hair and dragged me into the kitchen. Then she ordered the bodyguards to bring a basket full of mangoes. Since you don't know how to repent, then try this. I looked up in disbelief, screaming, Serafina Vance, are you crazy? Did you forget my mango allergy? You trying to kill me? Her voice was extremely cold. I know, but you hurt Finn, so you should pay a price. After speaking, mangoes with their skin on were forcibly shoved into my mouth. I shook my head desperately, but several bodyguards, receiving instructions, firmly held down my shoulders. Continuous pulp entered my throat, instantly making my whole body itch, and my breathing became rapid. In a trance, I recalled when we first got married. I accidentally ate a tiny bit of cake with mango filling, and Serafina Vance, with red eyes, frantically rushed me to the hospital, insisting on staying by my side for 3 days and 3 nights. Since then, every housekeeper in the house knew one rule: No mangoes were allowed in the house, but now, everything had changed. Gradually, I couldn't breathe, before I fainted. I heard Serafina Vance's extremely cold voice, "Feed all the mangoes to him, not a single piece left." When I opened my eyes again, Serafina Vance was wiping away the tears that had flowed in my dream. For a moment, I felt as if nothing had changed. But the next words she spoke made me face reality. "Have you learned your lesson, Ethan Vance? Why are you so stubborn?" Yes, this wasn't the first time I'd been stubborn. Back then, my parents didn't agree to me marrying Serafina Vance. It was by severed family ties that I exchanged for a marriage certificate with her. My mother's last words to me before she died were, "Ethan Vance, one day you regret this." Now, it had all come true. I looked up, directly meeting Serafina Vance's eyes. "Let's get a divorce." She was incredulous. "Are you kidding me? You want to divorce me? Just because of Finn? I told you I am pregnant, and you can't have children anyway. Isn't this killing two birds with one stone?" I gave a bitter laugh. "Here is the divorce agreement, take a look." Serafina Vance's face instantly turned cold. "Ethan Vance, are you throwing a tantrum with me? I've explained it very clearly to you. Nothing will change, and we have a child now, isn't that good?" I shook my head, handing her the divorce agreement. "No, Serafina Vance, I find it disgusting." Her temper was instantly ignited. "Disgusting? Ethan Vance, do you know how many men out there are waiting for me to get into their beds? Why can't you be more generous?" Saying that, she tore the divorce agreement in front of her into shreds. "I am telling you, I won't agree to a divorce. Absolutely not. Besides, look at yourself. You're 30 now, who else would want you besides me?" After speaking, she tore the divorce agreement into shreds and stormed out. I sent the digital copy to my lawyer, and told him to handle it. I got up, put my mother's memento in my bag, and prepared to leave. As soon as I reached the main gate, I was gagged and bound by several burly men in the alleyway. I was about to ask who they were when Finn Hayes emerged from the crowd, his eyes filled with blatant malice. "Ethan, I didn't want to touch you, but you just don't know what's good for you. Tell me, how can I let your existence threaten my child?" I suppressed the panic in my heart. "Don't worry, I'll leave right away. No one will contend with you." Finn Hayes scoffed. "I prefer to trust my own eyes." With that, he waved a finger, and several burly men pinned me down, savagely tearing my clothes. "Ah, help. Please let me go. I'll give you anything. Please, please don't hit me. Help." Serafina Vance rushed over upon hearing the commotion, and the burly men instantly vanished without a trace. She roughly pushed me aside, and quickly embraced Finn Hayes, who was lying on the ground. His eyes were red from crying. "Ethan, I know you're angry with me, but how could you hire people to beat me up, and even specifically tell them to hit my private parts?" Serafina Vance was furious. Her eyes filled with venom. Before I could speak, she slapped me hard across the face. She used all her strength, and I fell directly to the ground. Suddenly, I smiled, smiling through tears. Serafina Vance didn't even ask a single question, but directly sentenced me to death. 10 years of love ultimately couldn't compare to someone else's performance. Then she helped Finn Hayes up and instructed the 2 bodyguards behind her, inflict all the suffering Finn just endured on Mr. Vance, especially his private parts. I was incredulous, shaking my head desperately. "Serafina Vance, I didn't do anything, you can't do this to me." She ignored me, directly telling the bodyguards to proceed. Heavy punches landed on my body, my private parts, and Serafina Vance stood there condescendingly, without a hint of pity in her eyes. Before long, a sharp pain shot through my private parts. I felt an unending flow of liquid gushing out from beneath me. As a urologist, I was acutely aware that I was bleeding down there, but the punches didn't stop. I was in so much pain that my vision blurred, and I pleaded intermittently, "Serafina Vance, it hurts so much, stop." But she gave me a cold glance, her voice extremely indifferent. "Don't believe him, he's faking it." It wasn't until the white dress beneath me was stained red with blood that Serafina Vance realized something was wrong, and she ordered the bodyguards to take me to the hospital. When I woke up again, I learned I had been unconscious for 2 days. Thankfully, my colleagues had stayed by my side the entire time. Serafina Vance never appeared once. I searched everywhere and found that my phone and my mother's memento were gone. Thinking they must be at home, I quickly hailed a taxi to go back, Pushing open the door, I saw Finn Hayes, dressed in a mesh shirt, kneeling between Serafina Vance's legs, moving back and forth, with dozens of condoms scattered on the floor. Seeing me, he gasped, quickly grabbing a bathrobe to cover himself. Serafina Vance suddenly stopped, looking at me displeased. "Why are you back?" I was expressionless. "Just to get something, it'll be right out." Before I finished speaking, my peripheral vision caught sight of the necklace around Finn Hayes' neck, and my breath hitched, because that was the only memento my mother left me. 5 years ago, she had an accident at sea. Her body never recovered. All that remained were these 18 seashells, and Serafina Vance, fearing my excessive grief, specifically went to a sacred sanctuary, bowing with every step, to have these seashells blessed, then strung them into a necklace and gave it to me as a keepsake. Now, she let another man wear it, noticing my resentful gaze. Finn Hayes' eyes gleamed with triumph. "Ethan," Serafina said, "this necklace is bright, and perfectly suits me. What do you think?" I quickly walked up to him, trembling, and said, "Give it back to me." Finn Hayes, however, clutched the necklace tightly around his neck. "Ethan, are you really that hateful? Must you take everything Serafina gives me?" Seeing he wouldn't give it back, I stepped forward to grab it, but before I could touch him, Serafina Vance kicked me hard in the private parts. "Ethan Vance, have you fucking gone crazy enough? It's just a broken necklace. How dare you lay hands on him over it?" The stitches from my previous wound were now brutally torn open, but I ignored the pain, only wanting desperately to get the necklace back. But Serafina Vance gave me no chance. She yanked the necklace off and threw it towards the deep, boundless sea outside the window. My pupils contracted. I pleaded bitterly, "Please, no." The next second, the necklace dropped from her hand, disappearing into the vast ocean. "Now let's see how we'll get it back." After speaking, Serafina Vance embraced Finn Hayes, and went into the bedroom, and soon moans emanated from within, and I, from the balcony, leaped down. The seawater quickly swallowed my breath. Just as I thought I could go find my mother, a force from behind violently pulled me upwards. "Ethan Vance, you fucking can't die. You haven't taken responsibility for me yet. You said liars are dogs. Please, don't leave me." Later, large drops of tears burned my skin. "Ethan, you can't break your word. You can't abandon me, otherwise I won't let you rest even as a ghost." My chest was pressed hard, and I suddenly spit out the seawater from my nasal cavity, gasping for air, and said, "Aurora Brooks, take me away." 2 days later, Serafina Vance got out of Finn Hayes' bed. She shouted my name in the villa, but no one responded. Feeling puzzled, she saw the property manager rushing in. "Ms. Vance, it's bad. A male body was found on the shore, and it's your Mr. Vance's." Those clear words exploded like thunder in the vast oceanfront estate. Serafina Vance's face instantly turned pale. She rushed forward and grabbed the property manager's collar, her eyes full of rage. "What did you say? Say it again. Whose body was found?" The property manager was scared out of his wits, and dared not speak again. After a long while, he stammered, It's your Mr. Vance's. This morning we received a report of a male body on the shore. Upon inspection, we saw a hospital wristband on his wrist, with Ethan Vance written on it. That's how we found you. I am very sorry, Ms. Vance. Mr. Vance. He's passed away." This time, Serafina Vance heard clearly, but she refused to believe the bloody truth before her eyes. Instead, she chose to deceive herself. She violently shook the property manager by the collar. "No, this can't. Absolutely impossible. You must be lying to me, right? Tell me, who told you to do this? How dare you joke with me? How could Ethan Vance die? I am going to report you to your company, and have them fire you." Serafina Vance's face was so dark it looked like she wanted to devour someone, her aura instantly spreading, but listening closely, one could tell that the normally calm and composed CEO's voice was now trembling uncontrollably. Serafina Vance then called for the housekeepers, asking, "Mrs. Gable, where is Mr. Vance? Where has Mr. Vance been these past 2 days? Ms. Vance, I haven't seen Mr. Vance. I knocked on your door earlier to ask, and you said not to worry about him, so I didn't ask further." As she spoke, Serafina Vance punched the coffee table, blood flowing down her fingertips, yet she seemed to feel no pain. At this moment, she tried 1,000 ways to calm herself down, but she simply couldn't control herself. The property manager also trembled with fear and stammered, It's true, absolutely true. Look, this wristband says Ethan Vance, and there's an eyewitness who saw him jump from the terrace 2 days ago. Oh, right. I just found a ring and a medical report on him. Ms. Vance, take a look. Saying that, he pulled them out of his pocket, and Serafina Vance let go of his collar, taking them from his hand with a slight tremble. With just one glance, she recognized it, because she was all too familiar with this ring. 7 years ago, when she proposed to me, she was a penniless laborer and couldn't afford a ring, so she used 2 matching rings crafted from Sodak and tabs. Later, as the company gradually got on track, Serafina Vance also became busier. Every time she said she wanted to take me to pick out a ring, something would always come up. So, last year we agreed that for our 7th wedding anniversary this year, she would give me a unique ring. Now, there were 3 days left until that day. Unfortunately, it would never happen. At this moment, a deep sense of powerlessness swept over Serafina Vance. She could no longer stand, and collapsed to the ground. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw the medical report in her hand. She tremblingly opened it and saw written, sperm quality restored to normal, capable of conception. Serafina Vance shook her head in despair, unable to hold back her tears as she buried her face in her hands. Ethan Vance is better. Ethan Vance's male infertility is cured. Why didn't I know? And I even let someone harm his private parts. At this moment, the words on the medical report hit Serafina Vance's heart like a heavy hammer. She had used my inability to conceive as an excuse to seek out other men to indulge her desires, but she never expected that I had already been cured. This thing she had longed for 5 years had now come true, but she had personally destroyed it. Serafina Vance carefully placed the ring in her pocket, then, with red eyes, asked, Where is Mr. Vance? I want to see him. I don't believe it. I don't believe he would just leave me like this. We promised to accompany each other for life. The last sentence, Serafina Vance almost roared out, suppressing the grief in her heart. The property manager's face turned pale with fear. He quickly turned to lead her to the scene, but Serafina Vance tried to get up from the ground several times and failed, collapsing directly to her knees. In the end, several bodyguards had to lift her up and walk her out the door. Just as they reached the entrance, Finn Hayes chased out from the bedroom. Serafina, where are you going? My stomach really hurts right now. Can you take me to the hospital for a checkup? I really can't live without you right now. In the past, Serafina Vance would have definitely chosen to stay, but now, her mind was filled with images of my tragic death. She couldn't care less about anything else, so she pushed Finn Hayes away and walked off without looking back. On the calm beach, my body was neatly laid out, covered with a white sheet. Serafina Vance walked from a distance, falling to the ground several times. She didn't believe it. She didn't believe the cold body in front of her was mine. She also didn't believe that I, who loved her so much, would be willing to leave her. But when Serafina Vance stumbled and crawled to the white sheet and gently lifted it, what met her eyes was a face that couldn't be distinguished, and a body that had long stopped breathing. The police officer beside Serafina Vance looked a bit regretful. Madam, the deceased's appearance is damaged because he was in the seawater for too long, but we immediately had the forensic department conduct a DNA test, and the results should be available soon. Before he finished speaking, a message came through his phone. The officer looked at it, then held it up to Serafina Vance. Take a look. The deceased's identity information says Ethan Vance. Is he or Mr. Vance? These words hit Serafina Vance's ears heavily. At this moment, her last glimmer of hope was extinguished. She knelt on the ground, holding the nearby corpse, and couldn't help but cry uncontrollably. Ethan Vance. Ethan Vance. It's Serafina. Serafina Vance. Can you open your eyes and look at me? Why? Why did you abandon me? It was my fault. I shouldn't have been rough with you, and I shouldn't have thrown away Mom's necklace, but I am the one you should punish. Why did you jump? How could you be so foolish? Didn't we promise to never be separated our whole lives? Ethan Vance, you broke your word. I beg you, open your eyes and look at me. Please don't leave me alone. And our child. I only just found out today that you were cured. Why didn't you tell me? If I had known, I definitely wouldn't have. Before she finished speaking, she slapped her own face countless times, because her mind recalled her actions during this period. The more she thought, the more she broke down. Yes. What had she done? First, she cheated on her husband with another man. then got pregnant and wanted to have the child, and then even brought the man back to their marital home to live in their master bedroom. Even worse, she actually let others lay hands on him, the man she swore on her wedding day she would never let bleed or shed tears, and now she had done it all. What was she doing? Serafina Vance desperately held my body, and the police couldn't pull her away. She cried out my name over and over again, desperate and heartbroken, but what responded to her was only a body that had long gone cold. After an unknown period, a police subordinate came to report work, mentioning a group of thugs arrested yesterday who were confessing their recent misdeeds. The subordinate then mentioned a strange incident. These men said a Mr. Vance had given them a large sum of money to pretend to beat him up. Can you believe it, Captain Miller? Such a thing exists. But these few sentences made Serafina Vance's ears ring, and the blood in her body seemed to flow backward. Mr. Vance. Pretend to beat up. Those people weren't hired by Ethan Vance, but by. Serafina Vance rushed forward, grabbing the subordinate's shoulder. Where are those men? Take me to them. At the police station, Serafina Vance saw faces she recognized all too well. When they saw her, they immediately fell to their knees. Ms. Vance, 3 days ago, we didn't intentionally kidnap Mr. Vance. He gave us a large sum of money to put on a show. The other person rattled on, but Serafina Vance only heard a few words. 3 days ago, Mr. Vance put on a show. She felt as if she had been hit over the head with a club, and something exploded in her mind with a bang. Ethan Vance, I was wrong. I wronged you. It wasn't you. You were framed by someone else, and I pushed you to your death. Serafina Vance covered her face, crying tears. She remembered how I had knelt on the ground, begging her to let me go, but she didn't even listen, and directly ordered the bodyguards to strike me dead. Even though we had known each other since youth, for over 10 years, she knew me best, yet for Finn Hayes, she didn't hesitate to plunge the sharpest knife into my heart. Serafina Vance's heart was pierced by the truth before her eyes, and she completely broke down. She staggered a few steps, suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and completely fainted. When she woke up again, Serafina Vance was lying in a hospital bed. She anxiously wanted to get out of bed to handle my funeral arrangements. As soon as she got down, she saw Finn Hayes, crying his eyes out, rushing into her arms. Serafina Vance pushed him away in disgust. Finn Hayes immediately clutched his chest. Serafina, you were unconscious for 3 whole days. You really scared me to death. I was so afraid the doctor would tell me you'd never wake up again, and then the baby, and I wouldn't want to live either. At this point, Finn Hayes didn't know that Serafina Vance had already seen those thugs, nor did he know that she had already found out that everything that day was his own doing. He was still fully immersed in the fact that I was dead. Completely oblivious to the woman's grim expression, he continued to ramble. If you ask me, this Ethan really didn't know what was good for him. Just to compete for your affection, he jumped into the sea, thinking that would win your heart. He's truly cunning, but now he's got what he deserved. Oh, right, Serafina, while you were unconscious these past few days, I took care of his funeral arrangements. I was afraid the ashes might affect the fetus, so I just threw them in the backyard trash can, unexpectedly, before he finished speaking. The next second, Serafina Vance reached out and clutched his neck. Her face darkened as if she wanted to kill him. Serafina, ****. You. What are you doing? Serafina Vance squeezed her fingers hard. Who gave you the nerve? Who gave you permission to touch Ethan Vance's body? He'll strangle you, you hussy. Finn Hayes cried in fear. Serafina, Serafina. But didn't you love me? You said it yourself. Have you forgotten? You said if it weren't for that marriage certificate, you'd be with me. Now that Ethan is dead, and you are unconscious, I just thought I'd help you out, and handle things. What did I do wrong? Serafina Vance's eyes were terribly red, and she tightened her grip, making Finn Hayes' eyes roll back. Finn Hayes, how dare you ask what you did wrong? Were those thugs that day hired by you? Did you hire someone to frame Ethan Vance? It'll make you pay with your life. And what kind of person do you think you are? That I would fall in love with you? To me, it's just a disposable rag. Saying I loved you was just to fool you. The only person I truly love is Ethan Vance. Since you hurt him, I am going to fucking kill you. As the force in her hand grew stronger, the feeling of suffocation made Finn Hayes flail his limbs in terror. Out of fear, urine uncontrollably streamed from beneath him. He begged with difficulty, Serafina, I didn't mean to. I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. I was momentarily possessed by evil, that's why I hired people to frame him, but his jumping into the sea really had nothing to do with me. Please, I can't breathe. Serafina, you still have my child inside you. At the mention of the child, Serafina Vance's hand paused, and she shoved him roughly aside. At this moment, Finn Hayes disregarded his dignity, lying sprawled on the ground, gasping for air, having narrowly escaped death. He cautiously walked over to the woman, trying to appease her. Serafina, I know I was wrong. I promise I'll never upset you again. For the sake of the child, please forgive me, okay? He was certain Serafina Vance wouldn't dare do anything to him, knowing how happy she was when she found out about the pregnancy. This child was his free pass. But to his surprise, Serafina Vance's eyes were venomous, and her entire demeanor became terrifying. Even now, you dare to mention the child to me. Do you really think this wretched child will make me spare you? If it weren't for Ethan Vance's male infertility, do you think I would have kept your child? After speaking, she quickly stepped forward. Finn Hayes cried out in alarm, his eyes filled with fear, but the woman gave him no chance. She forcefully plunged a pair of scissors into his private parts until dark red liquid flowed from his inner thigh. Finn Hayes writhed in pain on the ground, begging repeatedly, but Serafina Vance didn't even look at him. She directly called the bodyguards, disabled this man's private parts. Then she turned and had an abortion. Meanwhile, the plane landed, and I was secretly taken overseas by Aurora Brooks, and all my identity information was cancelled. Immediately, she invited the world's most authoritative gynecologist to examine me, because right after surgery, I suffered a violent kick from Serafina Vance, then jumped into the seawater, leading to a large-scale infection of the wound. As a urologist myself, I knew how serious the consequences were, and I probably wouldn't be able to have children in the future, but Aurora Brooks refused to accept it. With red eyes, she insisted, Ethan, I won't let you give up. I want to have children with you in the future, many, many children. To appease her, I agreed to treatment and underwent 3 surgeries, major and minor, barely preserving it. As for future conception, that was up to fate. Aurora Brooks stayed by my side day and night. I suddenly recalled our first meeting. It was during a business dinner. I detested such occasions, so I waited for Serafina Vance outside the restaurant for 2 whole hours, a thick layer of snow accumulating on my shoulders. My whole body had long gone numb from the cold, until a sudden warmth touched my shoulder. I turned and saw the petite and charming Aurora Brooks. The first thing she said was, Ethan, your wife is so neglectful, to make you wait this long. If you were my husband, I would never let him suffer like this. At that moment, I burst out laughing, and asked if she had ever been in a relationship, to be so arrogant. With an expression of defiance, she said, don't you dare doubt me, otherwise, you should divorce your wife and try with me. See if what I'm saying is true. At the time, I thought Aurora Brooks was just speaking casually, and didn't take it seriously, but she insisted I put on her coat, saying I shouldn't catch a cold, yet Serafina Vance didn't notice the coat belonged to another woman. Even after we got home, and the lights were on, thinking of this now, a bitter pang inevitably rises in my heart. It turned out that so many details had already been revealing that she had changed long ago. I just refused to admit it, stubbornly holding on. It was through that encounter that Aurora Brooks and I truly got to know each other. Even now, I can't forget, just when I thought I was sinking to the bottom of the ocean, there was that stubborn force behind me, pulling me upward with all its might. A strange warmth flowed through me. I stepped forward and embraced her. Thank you, Aurora Brooks. Seemingly startled by my sudden embrace, she stiffened. It took her a while to react. Ethan, are you throwing yourself at me? No backing out. You promised me, liars are puppies. I smiled. Millimeters liars are puppies. So, I won't back out. With that, I stood on my toes, and kissed her lips. Aurora Brooks seemed unprepared for my directness. Her lips stiffened, but soon, she cupped my head, and deepened the kiss. From then on, Aurora Brooks and I started dating. I must say, being younger made a difference. She would cling to me until late every night, and I gradually, through this relationship, forgot everything about Riverwood and Serafina Vance. I became the real Ethan Vance again. Since all my phone apps were deactivated, I no longer followed news from home. But Vance Group's reputation was too widespread. Even overseas digital billboards were pushing out news daily. When I saw Serafina Vance at the new product launch, presenting a ring named Tide, I felt a wave of nausea in my stomach. Watching Serafina Vance in the video, overflowing with affection, I couldn't help but laugh. Now that I was far away, making way for her and Finn Hayes, who was she putting on this show of belated affection for? And the news of Finn Hayes' affair was reported online by some influencer. The school directly revoked his graduation qualifications and expelled him. I ignored the news as I came across it. After that, I intentionally blocked all information from home. Gradually, everything about Riverwood was pushed to the back of my mind, but Serafina Vance, on the other hand, was the exact opposite. After she reselected a burial plot and held the funeral, Serafina Vance returned to our former home, holding my funeral portrait. After the incident, she hadn't dared to step foot inside, because it was filled with our memories. But now, as she stepped in again, seeing the things I once used, how I cooked meals for her, the vegetables I planted in the yard, and the suits I ironed neatly for her, these tiny memories now assaulted her like a flood, piercing Serafina Vance to the bone. She collapsed listlessly onto the cold floor, feeling dizzy and disoriented, utterly unable to get up. From then on, she shut herself in her room day after day, repeatedly looking through our old photos and phone chat records. She drank herself into a stupor, fantasizing that I was still by her side. 2 years later, she went to the police station wanting to preserve my personal records, but was told by the staff that they had already been cancelled. Serafina Vance clutched the staff member in disbelief. Impossible. How can this be? I am Mr. Vance's only immediate family. How could his identity information already be gone? The staff member frowned and explained, there are only 2 possibilities. He either had someone cancel his identity information, or he had a terminal illness with no relatives to help him, and chose to cancel his identity ahead of time. She was well aware of my physical condition. I had no terminal illness, so there was only one possibility. Serafina Vance suppressed her surging emotions and quickly asked, can you check the exact cancellation date? The staff member retrieved the information. Serafina Vance saw at a glance that someone had cancelled the identity information a week after my incident. That proved I was still alive. At this thought, the female CEO, worth hundreds of millions, cried and laughed like a madwoman in the office lobby. From then on, Serafina Vance began retrieving information from all over the world, trying to find my whereabouts. But finding one person in such a vast world was easier said than done. Her search lasted for 3 years. At this time, I was in a foreign land overseas, researching the world's most challenging male infertility. Finally, we developed a special medicine that could effectively solve the problem of low sperm motility. On the day of the press conference, I made my first public appearance, accepting everyone's blessings and praise, and Aurora Brooks stood by my side. I had originally thought that I would never meet Serafina Vance again in this lifetime, but unexpectedly, on the night the celebration banquet ended, I saw Serafina Vance at the hotel entrance, with a full shoulder covered in white snow. 5 years had passed, and she had changed. Her hair had turned completely white, and she looked much older. Upon seeing me, she immediately took a step forward, but was firmly blocked by Aurora Brooks. Ethan Vance, it's you, isn't it? I am really not dreaming. He not dead. He really not dead. This is wonderful. As she spoke, tears streamed down Serafina Vance's cheeks, but I watched her with a sneer. I am sorry, you've got the wrong person. Serafina Vance shook her head. No, I don't believe it. You can't fool me. You are my Ethan Vance. I could never mistake you, Ethan Vance. These past few years, I've dreamt of you every night, but when I opened my eyes, there was nothing. Now I've finally seen you. I won't let go again. Will you forgive me? Watching Serafina Vance's face filled with deep affection, I laughed sardonically. He's dead. Serafina Vance. Ethan Vance died 5 years ago. You practically killed him. Have you forgotten what you did? So how do you still have the nerve to stand before him now, and even ask for his forgiveness? Faced with my repeated accusations, Serafina Vance couldn't utter a single word. Aurora Brooks and I clasped our hands together, the diamond ring on my hand deeply stinging her eyes. After a long silence, Serafina Vance looked up at me again. You're right, Ethan Vance. How could I possibly show my face to you again? With that, she pulled a document from her inner pocket. It was a divorce agreement. One glance was all it took for me to recognize it as the one I had drafted years ago. Serafina Vance held the pen, hesitating for a long time, before finally writing the 3 words, Serafina Vance, as if it took all her strength, after handing me the divorce agreement. She said, "I am sorry for what I did to you, and the child. I said I wouldn't let anyone who hurt you off the hook, including myself." With that, Serafina Vance turned and walked away. Her slender back clearly showed she was sobbing. I picked up the divorce agreement in my hand, and took a deep breath. Finally, I was free. Half a month later, sensational news from home spread. Serafina Vance, former CEO of Vance Group, committed suicide by jumping from a building today, dying instantly. The only thing she held in her hand was a marriage certificate. The next day, I received a large bank transfer, with no sender's name, but I knew who it was from. I directly donated this large sum to a children's orphanage in my home country. I thought they were the ones who truly needed this money. As for me, I already had someone who truly loved me.